show about sports by people who love sports. Welcome to Sports Isolated. Here's your host, Callum Duck. Hi everyone, welcome to Sports Isolated. Today on the show we've got personal trainer from the Gym Glenelg, Craig Fisher. Craig, how are you, mate?
Thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Craig and I have known each other for a long time, since about 2014, 2015 when I did some personal training with you.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Before you were a personal trainer, you were actually a qualified chef. So can you tell us why you decided to go down that career pathway initially, and then why you eventually switched to PT?
It's a good question, Callum. So obviously cooking was something I really enjoyed, and I still do to this day. Probably a few things have changed. I love going around people's houses and cooking for them. So I decided to change it because I've always been into the fitness. I've played football and baseball, but then obviously being able to learn how to train someone and impact someone's life has always been a big factor for myself. So what I actually started is after cooking for the 8 years is just slightly going on to the part-time side and getting into the PT side by learning at the Institute of Fitness. And then once my client base built up, then going over to the PT side and then using that as my full-time job.
Yeah, that sounds like a very interesting and I suppose not very traditional career pathway. Most people decide to become a PT sort of straight out of school. Obviously schools offer Cert 3 in fitness, which obviously is to Cert 4 and becoming a qualified personal trainer. What have you learned from being a chef that you can pass on to your clients through your personal training business?
I think with the chefing, it's really taught me a lot of self-discipline and being able to think on my feet, which is really important in being a personal trainer. Obviously being in a gym with lots of trainers, we have to also learn how to improvise as well, but also make sure that we create a good program and a good training session to help our clients get the best results.
You've obviously put together your chef side and your personal training side, and you actually created a company a couple of years ago called Next Flex Foods. So do you mind telling us about why you started that and where the business is going at the moment?
Okay, so with my Next Flex Foods company, it all started, obviously the benefit was being a qualified chef as well, but I noticed as all my clients were training, they were putting so much effort into the gym, but when it came to their food, they didn't really know what to do, and they were just, I wouldn't say binging, but they were just eating the wrong food because they didn't really know what to do. So yeah, long story short, it was off to Bunnings getting the barbecue, and I actually put that out the front of the gym and started cooking out the front of the gym and helping my clients, just introducing better food. From there, I was very fortunate enough to build a couple of contacts where I was able to network with a guy who owned a kitchen, and from there we were able to build a business, and the business was obviously Next Flex Foods, where all the food was vacuum sealed so it would last longer.
Yeah.
We were making our own stock sources, so everything was always staying fresh, and that was the point of difference. Instead of having things were frozen and that, and you were never getting that standard, that high quality standard all the time. I think that was the big point of difference. And I think if anything, it's been 3 years doing it. It opened up a lot of doors. Moving on here from now, I've been able to actually use that as a platform where I've been lucky to be working with Drake's Foodland now. So since last year, I've been working with 12 stores where I've actually created their own menu, and it's called The Little Kitchen, where they actually create their own salads and actually add protein to the salads. And I've been able to train those staff and use that as the building block. Obviously, unfortunately, I've decided to actually step down from the Next Flex Food, purely just on just so much competition out there. I had to make the executive decision. But in the positive part, it's opened a window where now I'm doing a lot of work with Drake's. And for 2020, even though there are a lot of things happening now, there will be a lot of things happening at the end of the year, which I'll be taking a full role in, and there'll be some big things coming along the way.
Yeah. So what are some goals with you working with Drake? So what are the sort of things that you're looking to achieve with them, and how many stores are you currently running in now?
So at the moment, I'm helping out 12 of their main stores. So that's pretty cool, like being able to train them and teach them the knowledge which I have. And obviously, some of the things that I was doing with Next Flex Food, I'm passing on that information, and we're hoping to bring that actually onto the Drake's brand and show them how they can actually be, I suppose, creating a few other revenues for their company as well.
Yeah. So, Craig, as well as a personal trainer, you're actually a bodybuilder as well, and you've entered some competitions. Can you tell us so far, what you've achieved in bodybuilding?
With the bodybuilding side of it, I have been very fortunate. I think, with that, it is very competitive, and once you've actually competed once, you do get that itch where your mates ask you, oh, is this the last one? And you go, yeah, this is the last one, but you end up doing another one and another one. I think I've always used it as a hobby, and it has helped me with my business. I started back in 2014, so my first show was the INBA show, and I was fortunate enough to win that. And then that progressed onto a national show, where I was lucky enough to receive my pro card, and that was in the same year. And then after that, we actually flew to Dubai, and I competed in my first world competition, and came first in the amateur men's fitness category. And then after that, we actually had our first pro show where I placed second in the world as well. So I was very fortunate. And then as the years obviously went on, I thought I should at least progress a little bit, and I went on to the physique. So the way that actually works is physique. They look for your body is obviously a bigger physique. They look for obviously a lot more harder in condition, and I competed in Melbourne for the pro qualifier, and I actually got my pro card for that one as well. So I've been very fortunate enough to have a pro card in men's fitness and men's physique. I was actually competing in July this year, but with the situations, it has been cancelled. So fingers crossed that the October show does come through, because I definitely would like to stepping on stage in October as well. So, in regards to the competitions and the bodybuilding and that, it has been something I've really enjoyed. It can be very nerve-wracking in that, but it's something I really enjoy. I've met lots of people through it. And if anyone's wanting to, I highly recommend it. Just making sure that you get the right support.
Yeah, obviously, seems like you've achieved a lot in a 6-year sort of window, and hopefully there is a show in October, and it gives you something to look forward to in these tough times. What does your diet look like, and your preparation look like for a competition? Obviously, your training workloads are going to go up. You're going to have to be very strict about what you eat to obviously get the best results that you can. So what does prepping for a competition look like for you personally?
For me personally, some people do say I'm a bit of a freak when it comes to my food, and I tend to put the food away. I love my food. But in regards to that, I try to keep it fairly simple. The reason for that is I'm putting so much on my work and my training. Like, I don't really do too much on the flexible dieting. I like something like full structure, and I seem to find that actually works really well for me. Even though I do coach people for comps, I do seek out for a coach as well, because it takes a lot of stress off me. Also, I like to use that for development as well, and it gives me a bit more of reassurance to make sure that I'm learning as well, and I can pass my knowledge on. I look at it as more of a learning tool for me as well.
So what are the plans for you in the future in regards to your personal training business first? And obviously COVID-19 is affecting a lot of personal trainers, with the government obviously closing gyms for the foreseeable future. And then obviously, what are the plans for your bodybuilding and your work with Drake's?
So obviously with the situation here, I've tried to use this all as a bit of a positive thing. I suppose being a PT for 10 years now, I've been at the gym Glenelg. It's been great, and I continue to plan to be there. But I'd love to step away and do a little bit of outdoor training as well. It's been able to teach me a bit of diversity, especially in the outdoor training, and obviously show my clients the benefits of training outside as well. So obviously outdoor training will be a big thing. and maybe putting that into a few packages. As some things I have noticed as well, when you're a personal trainer, we get so busy and there's a lot of things we have to do to work on our learning ability, and sometimes we don't have that time. But with this time, I've been able to reintroduce those things. I suppose you could say it's like a reset button where I can introduce those structures to create my business all over again and improve it as well.
Yeah. What about your work with Drake's? Obviously, you've got some exciting stuff lined up there. You said you were in 12 stores. Obviously, Drake's got a few more stores, so the plan's obviously to push into as many Drake stores as possible.
Yeah, so at the moment we are working on something pretty big at the moment, even though with the situations have been pretty tight lately. I'm still waiting on, obviously a few things. There are some things we do have to keep pretty confidential at the moment, but we are working on a couple of things in regards to like ready-made meals and that, and I suppose like trying to do it to encourage people to source their food and the ingredients going to more there instead of outsourcing with companies as well. So then people will want to come to Drake's more, and I suppose have that more high premium brand as well.
Yeah, I've done a lot of market research through my degree at Flinders, and I found when we were researching supermarkets that ready-to-go meals were becoming extremely popular over the past 5 years, especially probably the last 3. They've really started to ramp up in popularity just because people have got less time as well. How is COVID-19 affecting your personal training business? And obviously we're here at Glenelg this morning. You were doing some personal training with a few clients. So where can people get in touch with you if they want to do some personal training in a lovely setting like this?
I will admit we've been very lucky and very fortunate how the council are looking after the facilities here at the gym at Glenelg. So I've just decided to do something obviously a bit closer to the gym because that's where my clients are. With some of the rules, obviously we are as trainers allowed to have no more than 10, but what I've wanted to do is only incorporate one-on-ones or pairs, only because like what I do as well, I want to make sure that I'm obeying by the rules, but it looks good for me as a trainer and as a person that I'm taking on what they're saying, what is good and what we should be doing, because if we abide by what's going on at the moment, the faster we do it, we'll be able to get back into our normal lifestyle as well. I'm doing currently training here at Wrigley Reserve in the mornings and that, so I suppose just give me a contact through my mobile number 041 9832 427. If you're interested on, or you wanted to know what style of training, I've got dumbbells, kettlebells, ropes, everything that you need to get your good workout. And obviously just showing you guys a little bit more diversity. So sometimes we are a little bit dependent on those pin loaded weights and machines and that are in gyms. So I think it just shows you a few extra things that you can be doing for your training to get your best result.
Thank you so much for joining us on Sports Isolated. Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously giving us a great insight into nutrition and personal training and bodybuilding. Hopefully we'll get you back on the show to do some cooking, as Craig's a qualified chef still, so he'll be joining us on healthy cooking. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.